Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fear-Free Passive Investing. My name is Lucas Miller, and today we're going to be talking about CIA level intelligence gathering for your next commercial investment. All right, I'm excited to jump into today's topic, but first, if you're new here, welcome. We help busy professionals navigate the world of passive commercial real estate investing. We give you your time back so you can focus on what matters most to you. So if spending more time with your family is more attractive to you than spending time on your portfolio, stick around, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's get going. All right, so let's get going. So not many people know this about me, but I have actually a master's degree in national security and intelligence gathering. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's a really strange degree to get. And I know what you're thinking, like it is a strange degree to get. So there was a time in my life when I thought that I would love to do this kind of work, be an intelligence gathering asset or manage assets. And it sounded really great until you actually realize that my job would be consisting of sitting in front of a computer screen in a windowless room for my entire career, not being able to tell anyone about anything I was doing. And that really just put a hamper on things for me. I really didn't enjoy the idea of that. So here I was with this advanced degree and a really specialized topic. And what do I do with this degree? Well, it wasn't long before I started realizing that, yeah, I know a lot about intelligence gathering. And I thought when I first graduated that it really wasn't going to matter. I thought I had wasted my entire degree on something that I would never use. But then I started to realize that this stuff can be applicable to a lot of different topics, which brings us to today's point, how we can implement things that I was trained on as an expert in intelligence gathering. How can we adapt that to everyday living, especially passive commercial real estate investing? And the way we go about doing this is through something called OSINT. OSINT. Now that stands for Open Source Intelligence. Now what that means in layman's terms is open source means it's applicable to anyone. Anybody can go and gather this. This is public information. Think of it this way. You can Google something about a company or you can Google something about someone and whatever pops up is public information. You don't have to have a security clearance to read it. You don't have to have this special authorization. It's just open for everyone in the public. Open source intelligence. Now you might be thinking, why do this? Why go through this open source intelligence gathering phase just to make a simple passive investment? Well, simply put, the most important thing you can do as a passive investment is eliminate variables that can come back and bite you. This is my approach when I start actively investing in a deal. I always look for things that I can do for free from the comfort of my computer screen to make sure that this is a good deal. I always make sure and do a bunch of different things that just involve Googling things or looking at different websites or visuals, and all that is done for free, very little time. And I've synthesized this process down to a very simple process of here's the website you go to, here's what you can look at, and here's how you can verify some information. Now, this is what I want to talk to you today about. I'm going to share all those secrets. All right, so one of the biggest realizations I had when I was going through my education about intelligence gathering is that there are a lot of misconceptions around the idea of intelligence gathering. Now, I think when people hear the idea of oh, I gather intelligence for a living, or I'm an intelligence officer, they think, oh, he's spying on people, or he's tapping phones, or he's looking through a telescope and monitoring someone. Now, all of those things are legitimate. All of those are forms of intelligence gathering, but there's a lot of things that you wouldn't think about. Intelligence gathering can be as simple as using Google Earth to figure out how many buildings are on the property, or what kind of roof type they are, or what kind of playground they have on site, or how the map is laid out. So there's this whole aspect of intelligence gathering that is almost as simple as just figuring out how to use Google really well. So why would passive investors want to do this, right? Well, you have two jobs as a passive investor. We've already talked about this in a couple different videos. Your job is to vet the deal and vet the sponsor. Two things. both of which can be made very easy by using some basic open source intelligence gathering techniques. So you might want to use tools to figure out why a seller is selling, why this is a good deal, if this is in a high crime area, if it's in a really good population growth area. These are all things that are easily available on public websites if you just know where to look for them. And of course, if you're vetting the sponsor, this is even easier, right? Everything is available on Google. Everything is available on social media networks. You can do tons of different things to figure out if this is someone you want to trust with your money. And the least among which is running background checks. Like, that's a very easy thing to do. You just have to know where to look. All right, so let's talk about some tools for open source intelligence gathering. I've already mentioned a couple, but the whole Google suite is really valuable for this. I'm talking about the actual Google, right? Search bar, search engine, Google Maps, Google Earth, which is different. Google Street View is really good. I love that. For any investment I do, that's one of the first places I go is Google Street View and just basically drive the property from the comfort of my home. Social media websites like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all these places hold vast amounts of user data that if you know how to search them well, you can tap into very easily, frankly, which is kind of scary sometimes. But right now, Facebook and LinkedIn are my two favorites. Another one that you might not know is tinyeye.com. And again, there will be links to everything in the show description. So if you have questions about anything that I'm using, it'll be down below. Now, tinyeye.com is a reverse image site. It's basically how you can reverse image and find out the actual true source of an image on the internet. And now this would be helpful if you have pictures of listings or pictures of amenities that you see somewhere. You can just do a quick reverse image search and see everywhere that this image is listed. One you might obviously know if you have any involvement in other forms of real estate investing is the assessor's website. There's a ton, almost a treasure trove of information about the seller, about the owner, about taxes, floor plans, sites, measurements. Lots of stuff can be found on the assessor's website. Another huge one that I use regularly is apartments.com. Now, if you don't know about apartments.com, sure, it's a way to find an apartment if you're a tenant. But what you might not know is apartments.com is owned by CoStar. CoStar is this huge conglomerate of basically a treasure trove of information with regard to owner information, financials, rents, historical rents, neighborhood, comparable properties. Tons of information you would ever need for commercial real estate investing is just right there on CoStar. The downside to CoStar is it's incredibly expensive. So as an operator, I can't really justify the expense of that when I get free reports from various different sources. But the cool part about it is apartments.com is owned and also integrated with CoStar. So the information that you're looking at on apartments.com is then verified through CoStar and vice versa. So if I look at a listing on CoStar for an apartment at 123 Main Street, I can see the rents that they're achieving and advertising on apartments.com, and then it's verified with their internal rent management system. So apartments.com is a super valuable source for rent comps. So as a passive investor, you might be looking at a multifamily deal and the sponsor is predicting an $850 rent target. You might be able to go to apartments.com, type in the address, find comparable properties and realize that, yeah, they're being a little conservative on that, or they're being way too aggressive on that. And you can make that decision for yourself. And again, all of it is free, open source, public information. Okay, and the last source I want to talk to you about is actually more of something called HUMINT than it is OSINT. So HUMINT is human intelligence gathering, right? Now, in the traditional sense, as a HUMINT operative or an intelligence officer, you will have HUMINT assets or human intelligence assets, basically spies that you have running around, that you're gathering their information, you're disseminating it, and making your analysis based on that information. As a passive investor, you're going to do the exact same thing, but instead of having individual assets that you're going to manage, you're going to actually use actual tenants of that building to run your HUMINT analysis. And now I'm not saying you should go and find those tenants and interview them. That's way too much work. All you have to do is read apartment listing reviews. You can find out so much information because everyone's putting it out on the internet for you for free. Everyone and their mother will complain about something if you give them a soapbox. So I have found tons of useful information just by simply going on apartments.com or Google Business Reviews or Yelp or any number of those review websites and just reading what people have to say about these different buildings. A lot of older owners don't even care about reviews, so they will just leave everything out and have their entire laundry list of problems aired out. Now, this can be a really invaluable thing for you as a future investor. However, I want to clarify the point that just because someone is writing a negative review about something does not mean that it is gospel. Like I was saying, you give anybody a soapbox, they're gonna find something to complain about. And that's what these websites do. Google reviews, business reviews, Yelp, apartments.com. Every single person will have something to complain about if you give them the option. However, what investors are starting to do now is incentivize people to write good reviews, right? Most people think like, oh, I'm gonna write a really bad review when something bad happens. Smart owners are getting to the point where they will say, hey, this person's really happy right now. I'm gonna capitalize on this and inform them that they can leave a review saying how great we are. Because in your mind, you're thinking, oh, I don't need to do anything when things are going well, but when things start going bad, you're like, I'm gonna trash this company to no end. And that's what it was for a very long time. So when you're on apartments.com and you come across a review saying, oh, this is the worst place ever, they have bed bugs, they never respond to my maintenance requests, they're the horrible, worst management company ever. Now, you need to take that with a grain of salt because that person could have just gotten evicted, they could have just gotten their rent increased, they must hate whatever happened to them in that particular case. However, if you start seeing a bunch of different reviews saying the same exact thing, like, oh, I've got cockroaches in my kitchen, or my water is leaking, or my water bill is super high. Things like that are what I'm looking out for because they point to potential opportunities for me as an investor. I love bad reviews that are on a consistent basis because that points to me saying, hey, there's value to be added there. So in conclusion, I would love if you all implemented some of this stuff. If you do already do this stuff, great, good on you. Let me know down in the comments because I'd love to figure out what source you use to find more information. Of course, this isn't an exhaustive list of websites you can visit to gather information, but it's a really good start. And if you did this, you'd be further ahead than a lot of other people. All I will say is that you need to be careful about what you put on the internet. If it's that easy to find something so simple, imagine what a really skilled person with some nefarious software could do to figure out something about you. So just be safe. Don't put anything on the internet you wouldn't say in front of your grandma. That's a really good advice for anything. All right, thanks everyone for stopping by. If you're new here, again, please consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell because we have tons of great content that's gonna help you be a better passive investor. Our goal here is to answer the questions that you want answered. So if you do have questions or ideas for future videos, go ahead and leave them down in the comments section. I would love to talk to you more about it. That's all I have for you this week. I'll see you next week. Thanks.